our 24-120 lens. It's a Nikkor 24-120. Let me see if I can show you the front. This lens, maybe not at this moment because we've got some moving parts here, so we're not going to show you that. But yeah, this is basically the 24-120 lens. A lot of it has already been dismantled. We've got the front element, the frontmost element. These are the back elements, 1, 2, and 3. And this is a metal part which we'll not keep near the glass just for safety. And this is the aperture ring. These are different glasses. Now with this, gonna go ahead and clean this element. As you can see, there's a lot of fungus in there. We're gonna try and clean that for now. So let us see how this goes. I'm gonna set up this tripod here so you can see the whole process. Cement fluids. Put some cleaning fluids here. Not apart, let me just set this up so good view of what's happening. So as you can see, this element has been removed and we're going to clean it thoroughly of this cloth, and we've got this bright light which will shine through the lens throughout the cleaning process. This is for us to be able to um, see dust and fungus spots while we're cleaning it. So you put it at an angle usually and then look at it, and so it says rotate the device back. So let me go ahead. Basically wants me to rotate the device so you can see what's happening. Let's resume the live. We're cleaning this particular thing. Now that it's much clean, sometimes you put a bit of this cloth inside and then clean it. Using gloves definitely helps, but I like the feel of my fingers as I clean it because it gives me a better idea of what's happening. And gloves start making my hands sweat a lot. So that is another problem. Now that this is clean, I'm going to keep it away onto a pad which is this diary. So I don't want it knocking off against glass items. Because glass is the most important thing in a lens cleaning process. Now you can clearly see there is a big spot of fungus on this. As you can see here, I'll try and show you with this particular pen. As you can see here, there's this spot here, and then if you go a little further here, there are more spots. So these are things that need to be cleaned up. So we're going to try and clean all that. The side of the lens, always good to keep your hand on one side because these things just pop out. So like you saw, I had this particular ring, which is a distance adjustment ring from what I understand. These rings give you very minute distance changes, and also I think since it's a plastic body, this would give it a little more stability when it's tightened. So this ring is supposed to be here. I'd suggest we don't move it because then we could end up forgetting to put it back while we're reinstalling it. Because there are many rings that go into this, and I don't want that falling out of place and then giving us a moment of confusion as to what came before the rest. Another very good idea is to keep clicking pictures. I'm making this video now, but I usually click pictures as and when I'm cleaning something. So that apart, the order in which each lens goes is also equally important. You need to have the right tools. The first step of this entire cleaning process started with this particular lens spanner. These are available for 1,500 to 2,000 bucks. I got mine in the US, but I think it's available here with some dealers in Delhi. So this is used to remove an element which is like this, and it's got grooves on it. Let me try and show you those grooves. Yes, this was the ring which was right in front, and it's got these little grooves here. As you can see, this groove and this groove. These grooves need to be rotated, and you can't do it. One simple way is, once it's loosened, you can use your nails and hold it on both sides to do this. Or you could use a divider which you got back in your school. Those things work well too. See what's happening here. So I'm going to try and retain that ring there, moving it. As you can see the fungus there, you can very clearly see the fungus. I think the camera is focusing pretty well. The big patch on the right, that's my fingerprint. Excuse me for that. But now we're going to use this. Of all the cleaning solutions, I found the Zeiss spray to be really good, because I tried it on another lens which I cleaned, which was a 100 Nikkor E series lens, and it just did wonders on it. It evaporates pretty fast, so good to keep it closed. And we have some liquid here, let's not waste it. And it's pretty fast drying, so you need to apply it and clean it fast. So you can see that patch there and my fingerprint. Let's go ahead and clean it. Okay, this guy's going to come in the way. He could scratch the lens, so we move him out. And we go ahead and clean it. And you'll see that it's almost instantly clean. Not every lens is this easy, but I think it was a fresh patch of fungus or something that grew a bit and then did not completely damage the layers of the lens. But I've cleaned many lenses which were like this, and I've actually used this Zeiss fluid and just bought it like 6 months back and got to use it just a month ago on the 100 macro, but just does a fabulous job. Like, it really cleans everything off. I'm not sure if it's just that actual fluid or anything would clean it, but I used to just use other fluids, but this seems to be doing the job really well. You can see there's absolutely no fungus now. So this light is usually used to check for any fingerprints. You can see how it's helping us, and sometimes it's usually best used from the opposite side or from below, so then you get a clear idea of what the glass looks like. And a multi-point source like this, which has got those dots, like you can see, really helps, because that is what tells you whether there is any patch, any fingerprint or anything on the lens. But as you can see right on the aperture here, you can see some little marks, and we're going to try and see what we can do about that, for which we might have to open the aperture a little bit. I'll just show you how we open the aperture. We've got the entire aperture system out now, but yeah, there you go. This is the little lever which actually actuates itself when you open the aperture, and you can see what I was talking about when I said you look at the lens from an angle and not straight through. So now you can't see nothing. I mean, of course you can see it, but then at an angle it's much easier to spot that dirt and the muck on the lens. You can very clearly see there's a lot of stuff happening on the lens. It's probably on the opposite side, so let's try and attack this from the other side. There is still a groove here which could probably be rotated and moved and removed to remove another element of the lens, because the other side looks like we've almost done everything possible to remove it. I'm busy, Gautama. What?
Okay, I'm not telling you
I'm.
to leave work.
Oh,
Not even asking you to take me out anywhere.
what is this?
Juice for you.
Thanks a
I'm
lot.
at your service.
I am on a live video. Thanks. Be careful with your feet. Yes, it's very important to keep your family away when you do lens cleaning jobs, because they'll call you to put the clothes to dry or something really lame. It's like calling a heart surgeon to come and try something really lame when you're doing a heart surgery. With all due respect to heart surgeons, I know that's much more complicated, or at least that's the way we've been conditioned to think. But yeah, with all due respect to cardiac surgeons, who I totally respect, I think this is getting clean on. So nice to see the Nikon. You know I love Nikon. Although I shoot with Canon and Sony, Nikon lenses feel great in the hand. And I'm holding one. So yeah, so let's go ahead and clean that fungus. One little problem here is that we have to clean it while this aperture ring is not available. So what we'll do is we'll actually use this lock the aperture, keep my finger firmly there so it doesn't come back, because if it does, then we're going to damage the aperture blades. So let's try and gently do this. Never be in a hurry when you clean lenses. I have damaged so many lenses. I just did a little damage. I was cutting off the packaging today of this lens and I used the blade, and there was just like 2 3 layers of the bubble wrap, so I kind of scratched the body of the lens, not any glass element luckily. But this doesn't seem like it's in the layer we're cleaning, it's somewhere in between. So it looks like we might have to remove another layer of all this to get to the actual spot that needs to be cleaned. What man now? What are you here for? Mm.
Remember the bounty we had made smaller?
Yeah, remember, but I'm cleaning a lens now. You shouldn't disturb me.
And everybody subscribe.
Ah, thanks for telling that, Rido. I'm wondering how we can remove this element. Oh, looks like it is loose. I could actually hear it tapping. So, yeah, while this is a good idea, it has to be done with great care, and this particular ring should not be forgotten. So, let's try and see if you're able to remove this element easily without damaging it. If you're able to remove this element, then it's going to be much more easier. Let us see how this works. Starters, let's try and hold it upside down. Let's feel the surface of the lens. Well, it's not a great idea to use your hand. You can use a cloth and your finger, and then it's kind of concave. So when you tap it on your hand very gently, it can sometimes come out. It doesn't look like it's wanting to come out. This looks a little complicated for us to fool around anymore, but okay, we can at least find out if this particular dirt on the lens is on this side of the aperture or on the other side of the aperture. So as you can see here, it looks very clean, whereas I have to see what's on the other side. So when I hold it like this, I'm actually able to see the fungus. So until then, it looks very clean. I'm not sure if the fungus is on the other side. Well, if it's on the other side, it should be easier to clean, but we can only try. So let's go ahead, try use some extra fluid, because I'm not sure how we can open the next element. That looks pretty difficult for now. I'm going to use a little more of this liquid. That has nothing to do with this.
But how is it?
It's nice, very nice. You saw it, no? The colors are very vibrant with it. You want to show it? So I'm going to try and clean this again. As you can see here, there is a lot of fungus there. So let's try and attack the fungus exactly where it is, because I've used my hand here. I'm trying to rotate this in there to see here. Multiple rounds of swabbing that particular surface to clean it, and guess what? It has not worked, I guess. It looked like it worked, but since there's one element which has been damaged quite badly, but we can give it another shot. We don't give up so easily. A little more of this liquid. I'm wondering if it's something to do with us not being able to access the corners well. I think this is clearly a sign of it being another layer, because what we cleaned is completely clean. You can see what cleaned has gotten clean. Whereas this clearly another area you can see there which isn't getting cleaned. So it's above the layer. If you look at the light very carefully, you can see it's on this side of the aperture blade. You can see it's still closing in, and it's on this side of the aperture blade, which means there's another layer of lens which has to be removed from this particular side. And you can see two notches there, like I said. If let's open the aperture so you get a better idea. But if you look at this, let me try and put in some light from this side too, or the entire setup this side so you can see it. I hope you guys are able to hear me. Not very sure, but yeah, I mean that's good. There are two notches here. If you notice this and this here, which means we might have to put the spanner in and rotate it one more time so we can get this element out. And that's something we will try now. That looks very delicate. Needs a lot of care when you open it, but that's the only way out now. Let's go ahead and give that a try. Before that, let me just try cleaning this once. Start with a relatively clean lens that can hopefully pop out when we remove this. Now comes your lens spanner. You use this to loosen it and bring it closer. So basically, you can get any size of spanner, that being the idea. Sometimes what happens is that spanner is too it's too far apart because it's kind of bent, so we might have to use the same side like this to bring it much closer so that it matches the particular radius or no reference that we're looking for. But like you can see, we're having trouble here with putting this into the specific area where the lens sits, and it's not going to go in. It could even damage the lens. So I don't know if this would help us. This looks just about okay, but I doubt this is the radius we're looking at. Let us figure out. This isn't the radius we're looking for, but it's like it just fit in. So maybe we'll tighten it and we'll give it a try. So I'm tightening both the screws so it's tight enough. No play. Always good to put a cloth here before you try anything else so it doesn't damage the lens. That is perfectly alright. And you need to get hold of a groove, make sure this doesn't go out of place. Yeah, it's not like repairing a car, because you've got a lot of moving parts, elements, and other things that you need to take care of while you're working on this. The best you can do is bring it right up, hold it tight, and let's first test and see if the radius, the circumference that we held it for in terms of the spanner is right. It's just about okay, I'd say, but it could be a little looser, which is good news for us because yeah, now it's perfect. Let's tighten this and let's go ahead and try opening it. This is a very risky thing, but sometimes the universe, you know, wants you to win. So it was like really easy this time. It just loosened. I can't tell you how difficult it is at times, but this time it just loosened. So let's not get too excited. Let's very carefully open this. Patience is the key. It's a simple ring which rotates and comes out and will give us access to the next few elements or the lenses. I wish there was a plastic version of this too. That would have been easier. So I've rotated it enough, and you can see it's moving a little bit now. So try and aperture is working. Once this element comes out, I think it's just about cleaning it and putting it back. I think the layer right below it is the one which has got fungus. It's very, very, very funny how fungus decides to actually attack the innermost element in the lens and not anything outside. But scientifically, that's true because the two main things that promote, yeah, I'll just show you this. So I've got the whole lens element out here. So you can see it's come out. Now the funny part is there is no lens element on the other side of the aperture like we thought. Everything is here. So now where would I go ahead and clean the fungus from? So that is something that we figure out now. But let me complete what I was telling you. What's on the innermost element is what catches fungus, and that is because the two things that promote fungus are absence of sunlight and absence of fresh air. So if you've got stagnant air, that is what causes fungus. So the sad part here is that this particular lens doesn't seem to be coming out. So be very careful when you're working with this. I don't think I'm going to be able to pull this lens out because this looks like one single solid element. So there are fused elements, and one element is inside the other, and two lenses like a concave and a convex are stuck to each other. And sometimes there might be a gap in between them, and they're fused to each other using glue, and you really can't physically separate them without properly getting a new element itself. If that's the case, it looks like that is the case in this particular lens, in which case you could actually just clean whatever you can, then you put it back. Of course, these lens diagrams are not a surprise. You can look up Nikon to understand what a particular lens would look like in terms of the construction. So with that information, you can always put the lens back, but always good to make your own notes. Like I have in this case, got a little chit paper on which I've written how the lenses look from the back side and from the front side. Certain things are one-sided, which means even if you don't remember how it went in, it will only go in one way. But certain circular elements, I mean, you can use common sense at times, but certain elements might go in both ways if the lens is really small, so you wouldn't really know which the right side because it's somewhere in the inner side. You can see there's nothing I could physically separate in this case. Nothing that would separate, and the only option I have is to put it back in. This wouldn't come out because it's really tight in there. The only thing we can do is clean it thoroughly and look at it from an angle to understand if there's any chance of it being actually on this lens. So if you know it's not on this lens, then you're sure you've done a good job. Because as I can see here, it's somewhere below the lens element, and any amount of cleaning on the top wouldn't really help. So just give it one last shot. I hope you guys are able to hear me. The mic is on. One more round of cleaning. Let's try this liquid, which is slightly different, just in case it's a little stronger. No, so that particular muck or fungus is somewhere right inside these elements. Unless we get a new one like that, or unless we get a donor lens, we can't do much about this. But at least we are happy we opened the whole thing up. We did everything we could in our capacity to make this perfect, but the innermost element being damaged means a lot more opening to do even if you get a replacement to the donor lens. Always enhance the contrast of your camera a little bit, considering you use digital cameras these days. And you can put it back, and that's what we'll do. And it should probably work well for us. The lens definitely looks like it's in a nice condition. All of the glass elements like super clean. Don't need any sort of cleaning. This is something on the inner level. Because I'll show you how you can make out it's on the inner level. Okay. And place it at a different angle so you can see the surface of this lens. You can see the surface, right? There's absolutely nothing on the surface. It's eaten up, it's all inside, so it's not much you can do. Same on the other side, the surface is absolutely clean. You can see the light shining on it, and the light shining on it even on this side. So there's not much you can do about this. So we're going to go put this back in place. Hi Renko, I hope you're enjoying this process, and I hope you have something remotely interesting with respect to lenses. If it does, then I'm sure you might enjoy this process of putting this lens back. And now we know we actually use the lens wrench, like I stated here, this particular wrench. We use these two, so you can see it clearly. Let me show you what I did. Be very careful not to touch the glass. Use this and use these grooves. Put it back in. We'll do this and rotate the lens below so that this kind of sits in place. But we'll do that very gently. Now that this is done, and we know that's the best in terms of cleaning that we can do, let's give it a second chance. Maybe apply a little bit of this and leave it there for a bit. So let this kind of sit there for a bit, because we opened it so much, and I'd say not giving it a thorough try would be a bad idea. We could do a bit of cleaning on the other lenses until then. You can see there's still some dirt on this side. Yeah, let's try cleaning that. Now that we have some time on hand, let's go ahead and clean that. Be very careful. It's always good to have a rubber pad. That's something I'm going to purchase or invest in very soon. And you can see these edges need some cleaning right to the edge. So we're going to go ahead and clean this. Hey Renko, so nothing happened to this lens. So there was a lot of fungus inside. It was a lens I just bought off one of the sellers in the group, and on the bulk sales group. It was fun getting it at a throwaway price. I think I got this at 2,000 rupees, including shipping, which is a good deal. Of course, yeah, we couldn't work on getting that particular lens cleaned, but yeah, maybe if we get a donor lens sometime in the future, we can use that. But otherwise, the whole lens is clean now. It can definitely function well on the Nikon camera. Now this is really shining clean. So any outer surface can always be cleaned later, but the inner surfaces which go in as you keep installing or putting back the lens, that needs to go well. This has already been serviced before. Like you can see, I think there was a chipped element. You can see here, there's a bit of a chip. See here, right? There's a bit of a chipped element which has been blackened. Yes, blackening a chipped element actually helps in reducing refraction. This is another chipped element here. So any of these things can be blackened using, I think, Indian ink or something that will reduce any kind of reflections. Be very careful when you hold these. Since you're not holding the center of the lens, it's good to give it support and then keep your palm below. It's completely protected throughout. And then you have certain elements inside. So a bit of blackening material on this might help. Even I would suggest that I do it before I put the lens back. So I'm going to look for a black marker is not really the best thing to use. You should probably use Indian ink or something that's very matte and seals this particular thing. Make sure there's no grease on the elements. Yeah, that's very true. You should not have any grease on the elements. I think this lens is pretty later. We got a thick bad stain here. See, may not be a big issue, but yeah, we could try removing it. Yeah, and it does go. So this is cleaned. Let me keep it here. Always good to keep separate elements separately. Don't keep something loose on top of another element. There's a high chance you'd pick it up without knowing, because when putting it back, you're usually in a hurry and you could end up damaging or dropping that particular lens. So we've let this dry in its place for a bit to see if it could eat up any fungus, just in case my assessment of it being on the inner elements was wrong. Now that it's stayed there for a while, let me try and clean it. You can also use a 3% hydrogen peroxide solution to kill the fungus or keep it away from growing, but tried that. You get hydrogen peroxide from your local drugstore. So this is the 6% by volume by weight. So that can be used to kind of makes your fingers white. It kind of bleaches your fingers, so you've got to be a little careful. It's dipped in it for a while, they say. But that's something I couldn't do. I have a little petri dish into which I used to do that. If you want, we can give that a shot, but I doubt that might work. But having taken this out, maybe it makes sense to do that. There's no way I'm able to bring this particular guy out. Just giving it one last shot. But I think if this actually comes out, we might be able to do something, but I really doubt it would. It's really tight in there. Why your hands red, Vedu?
My hands because of the something.
Show the camera your hands. What have you been doing? Oh my God.
I've been making a
Both father and son are up to all kinds of unwanted things while mother watches some web series.
What happened to the lens? I'll ask you questions, answer them.
You
Hi.
answered.
What happened to this lens?
Yeah, all that I've answered already. What happened to the lens? It was bought on a bulk sale. It was kind of full of fungus, so I had to repair clean the fungus. So that's why we opened it up, only to realize that this is in the innermost element which cannot be opened any further. I really wish this could be opened out, but it's not going to open now.
Be careful with your fingers. Your nail can very easily scratch the fragile inner element.
Oh yeah, that's true, Renko. I've got to be very careful with that. I avoid using the nails on the glass as much as possible.
Make sure there is no grease on the elements.
Yes, that I've made sure. But now the hardest part is not being able to remove this glass element from its case. And yeah, these glass elements are usually made like a perfect fit, so they don't move or shake, because any move or shake optically would mean losing focus and causing other problems. So it's usually a perfect fit. So it has to go absolutely straight along the axis into any compartment or a metal ring that it has to go into. So that's also equally important. So now that I've done this cleaning, I don't think I have any hope left that this fungus is going to go off, because it's somewhere on the inner element, because not 1 inch of it is, not even a little millimeter of it is going off, which means it's not in the particular surface that I'm working on. This is a fused element. This element is not going to come out or anything. So we give up on that, but we go ahead and we put it back. And if this interests you, maybe you can see it as we put it back in. So I'm
Any
taking
more
this.
questions, Renko?
No, that's it. So let's pull this thing down. So the funny part is I thought there was a lens element beyond the aperture. Didn't realize everything was behind the aperture. You can see how the fungus is right there as we allow enclosed light onto the surface. Pretty good. I'm not using my S22 Ultra. I'm using a backup phone. I picked up a basic A17 Samsung, which I'll give to my dad. It looks like Christmas is around the corner. You can see snow. Those shapes, what do they call them?
Snowflakes.
Snowflakes, yeah, it looks like snowflakes.
And
So
I think it would be good to wear gloves, just like Renko said.
Yes, always good to wear gloves, but I start sweating in my gloves. I don't get a feel of the lens when I'm working with gloves, but I use.
And shout out to Renko for being our number one fan.
Oh, shout out to Renko, yeah. What do you call it? From my son. So that's about it. So let's go ahead and put this guy back. Putting it back also is quite a task. One way is to ensure you clean the surface that's going in thoroughly. And then how I do it at least is I hold it this way and then turn the lens upside down and slowly place it in so it's in the correct axis. And once it sits in the correct axis, we try and rotate it. If the fingerprints, I mean, it's difficult to do it without fingerprints. I think I put it in the wrong way. Yes. Like it's in the wrong way. Yes, it was in the wrong way because we need to have the spanner grooves. So like I said, it won't go in the wrong way even if you try to put it in that way. So this is going to be cleaned now because we're not going to access that portion anymore. Let's hold the lens on this and be very careful, be very patient, no movement, no shaking, and send it in along the axis. So it sits right there. You can see it sitting in there. See if the difference in the gaps between any two sides is more or less. And sometimes with light, it's very difficult to understand this if it's a one direction light. So you need to keep it right below the light and then assess it.
Is that fungus inside the element?
Yes.
If you should if so, you should clean that. It could heavily give you softness in the image.
Yeah, but how do we clean it if it's a fused element, Renko? I think that's exactly what I was mentioning. It's a fully fused element. So if I have to open a fused element, that would mean probably dipping it into some solvent which would release all the glue. And it looks really like a tight fit sealed element, sealed at the factory. So if you notice, I just put it back in, it's sealed in place. So is that fungus inside the element? If so, you should clean that. It could heavily give you softness in the image. Now, I agree it could give me softness, but now it's pretty much clean. If you look at it from this angle, it looks really clean, while it actually isn't. So as I open this, you can see all the fungus again. But there's nothing much you can do because it's a sealed element. Do you have any suggestions on how to handle a sealed element? Then I'd be
Not
happy
only
to.
Renko, anybody can message.
Yeah, or unless I get a donor lens from where I could take out this particular element because that particular lens is fully broken or damaged. I don't see another way I could get this going, or I'll have to order it completely manual lens. These are your focus ring. I mean the focus. I know what you call it, but these are those arms. I'm not going to touch them. You can see here. I'm pointing out to them. It's golden. So we're not going to touch that because those are really, really flimsy. So if this is in, I think a good portion of our repair is done. So we're going to go back and start putting things back in. Now start with these two. Remember these two were here. Oh, 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 oh. There you go. With three of these. So we're going to see where these go. These were somewhere here. I take this back so you can see it clearly. Renko, are you on the film group that we are all on? The India film group? I'm presuming you might be from there, but you can tell us. I don't know if the thinner one. Okay, there's this one which is thinner, and this is thinner, and I don't know if the thinner one goes in the middle, but yeah, we'll put it in there. Renko is the only one here on our chat today, so in a way that's good because you've been giving us some great tips.
The upper battery percent is low.
Suggestions, yeah.
Battery percent is low.
What do we do with it?
5%. Now the people have increased. There are 4 people currently.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, so there is a little bit of an issue here. One of the punched holes is not there here. I don't know how we'll go about this, but yeah. What happened? Battery percent is low.
Yeah.
Okay, then let's do one thing. I'm going to take it off mic. And let's go ahead and put it on charge. We'll have to move the camera this side. Sorry guys, but put it in there.
Can go.
Okay, yeah, a blower definitely helps because it removes the dust in between the layers. But we've not put any 2 layers yet, so it's just we're still on the first layer. So what I'll do is I'll just put this back in. Then go ahead and put this. I think these are mostly spacers. From what I understand, these are spacers. Put the screws in, yeah. This is very odd. Excuse the view of my large stomach. But yeah, great. That is interesting. We've got some random thing here which you've not seen before. And this is back in place. Coming to the other part. Okay, so that's where we stand now. So we've got to put the whole lot of it back together again. That's going to take some time, but let's see how we can do this. So next step would be to put this ring and put the other parts that go there. But there's an order in which all this goes in. So let us see how that should be set. So there's this ring which is kind of symmetrical throughout, so I think this shouldn't be too much of an issue. This guy here. There's a blower here. Best one being the rocket blower. Out. We're going to put this element in, and before we put that element in, we're going to give it a bit of a clean. Don't blow any dust off. Don't blow any dust off. Okay. For that we clean this element, and more importantly, any dust that's right here, preferably with another cloth, because there you go, we put that in there. One important thing is, while you're starting off with the repair, everything looks very simple. Like, ah, yeah, this should go here. Shouldn't be more difficult than that. But when you actually get to repairing it and putting it back, start wondering, was this here? Was this here? That's a common thing I've faced. I see this screw doesn't seem like it belongs here. So it could be a slightly bigger one that needs to go in there. So we've got this, so I think this must be the one. Some of these visual markers, like having those red lines and so on, red glue, those really help at times. Guys, lost you for a while. Just got a call, so I had to answer that. Guys, lost you for a while. Just got a call, so I had to answer that. Okay, now that this is done, getting back into fixing the other layers in the right order is very important. Now is when a little chit will come of use to know what goes where first. So from what I remember, these are all front elements. Coming to the back elements, we had this particular lens which goes in last. Prior to that we had this lens, concave portion going in first. So I made a note here. So this goes in first. The concave portion should face back to the back side of the lens. At least these layers which had fungus are all clean now. I'm sure the overall performance of the lens should definitely improve. Some people use Zippo lighter fluid to remove any kind of fingerprints or anything. So I just bought that, but I don't know where I've kept that. Zippo fluid, not really used it. I'm going to use it on some donor lenses and then put it on any good lens that I plan to repair. There's a big, what do you call it? There's a big soldering job that's going to happen on one lens very soon. So I'm not very convinced with cleaning on this. There's still some dirt. Let's see how that needs to be removed. Now it's better. So now it's clean. This is a very important step, but be very careful here. Then you have this going in right after that. Let me put this in. I hope there is no ring in between all this. This is what I was talking to you about when I said sometimes everything goes as planned. Except that you're not very sure if there was something that's missing. If that happens, optical instruments would not function the way they should. Of course, don't shake it to know if elements are loose. But how mild this thing should be, because glass on glass can always crack. Did you also take apart the focusing motor? I just took this apart. This is what is connected to the motor. I've not removed the motor as such. Focusing motor I haven't. I still see some dust in here, so we're not going to put this back in this way. We are going to clean this guy a little more. Not really happy because there's some underlying dust there. Below the lens? Could be, because it's not going off. So at this stage you've got to be very careful, because there are two layers of glass, one behind the other. Even tapping against each other could crack one of the elements. So let's put these guys away for a bit. They don't come in our way. Okay, you have this part of the focusing motor coming out. This has got some dust, so I'm not very happy. There's some dust beneath that. So having a suction grip really helps with these situations. I do have it somewhere here, but I'll have to go searching for it. Very mild suction grip. So this is this particular. Yeah, this sometimes helps. But there's this bunch of lens rubbers. So it's not really working the way it should. I thought it's going to suck this out. What this would help is it's not really holding on to it. And it's good to have a rubber protective shield below when you do these kind of things. So you need really small suction arms. Now that we don't have it, first let's be calm. Shouldn't be losing all these screws. Be careful. lens away. Then slowly, very slowly. Tap the lens out. There you go, we got both the lenses out, but this has to be very, very, very carefully done. The method I employed is definitely not the best one, I can tell you. Now that it's cleaned, just ensure it's fully, fully, fully clean. Don't observe anything on it. Suppose the air is always hold it pointing downwards when you blow air, because there's a clear spot of dust, as you can observe there. Can you see it? I'm talking about this one. Yeah, that one. So I'm not very happy seeing that there. So keep your lips down. Let's put this guy in. So he doesn't want to come out. So that is because it's on the other side of the lens, and it's going to be such a bummer to be seeing that kind of a spot right inside a lens that you cleaned, because it reflects on you as somebody who's done a bad job. If I took my lens for repair, I never want something like this stuck inside. Oh, what's that? Okay, I think it looks like the ring that was around the... There you go, piece of plastic which is round, which has dislodged itself and came right there. So we don't want these kind of things happening. There's a little fingerprint also there. So we're going to do a thorough job. I'm not going to leave this way. Clean that first. Still there is a fingerprint. The funny part is all these marks, as you keep putting additional lens elements, they start magnifying in size. So when you look at it, it looks like a very, very, very small fungus mark, and then as you keep putting your things in, you realize that this is a pretty bad. Okay, we dropped one screw already. That's the mark. That's the dirt that was on the lens. Let's try and blow it off. So it's pretty much gone now. Now that that's done, and this is clean too. One more round of blowing. One more round of blowing on this. And then we place it in. I think the orientation here doesn't really matter, because so now I'm going to look for that little screw which has gone missing. I guess I found it. Screws are crazy. I'm going to find it. Fell right here. Leaving it there for too long. Yes, we found it. There was so much dirt there. But we managed to find it. So now that this has been placed, there's no dust there. Funny part is I'm seeing some dust even after the cleanup. Like I said, it just magnifies itself. When you see it this way, you'll see nothing there. Then when you place this there, if it is. Okay, that really is a little shocking. This doesn't seem to go. So what we'll do is we go ahead, blow it off, and then put that little metal ring in and place this. We have another issue here. The tripod that I'm using. Oh, please rotate to his back. So one problem we're currently facing is that the legs of this tripod that I'm using to mount the phone are magnetic, and that is causing us to get all our screws get stuck to its legs. That's why I say there's always a better way to do things, always. You keep learning as you keep going forward. A tweezer would have really helped, but just doing this without a camera is so much easier. So let's just try to see. So many of the screws which you can attach to the legs here. Okay, we're gonna manage with what we have. We're not gonna complain. Let's see what we can do. So we place this here. In some dust here. Inner element on the other side. Okay, we clean later. Yeah, now that it's all in place, just gonna place this right about this, but again. Okay, this is getting irritating here, but see what we can do. Be careful with your lenses that you placed right below. Okay, we're going to employ another method. I think it's easier to keep the ring below this because it's got a groove, a neat little groove. Put it in like this. It sits in the groove, facing upwards. Then you put the screw into it, maybe one at least. And then we use this to blow any dust. And below this, like Renko said, it's always good to dust these things beforehand. And you put your first screw in. This may be a bit of a turn. Then we take the screw. With a bit of a turn, there's some fiber here. We'll try and pull that off. Part of your flex cable in the electronics. That done. A bit of a blow. Put this in and tighten that well. Then we go for the third screw. Go ahead with putting this in. There's a little bit of that Loctite, but looks like the screw is not made for this. It's a little too loose, so we'll have to put another one. It's kind of half stuck now. Little troublesome moments we go through while putting a lens back together, and it's in the most crucial, difficult part here, because that's the one which doesn't usually go in easily, which means you got to open this whole thing again, and put the wrong screw out, but the other screw is not coming out. Yeah, we got both out now. We don't know which is the right one. So I think the thinner one will be the wrong one. They look so similar. I still feel this might be the right one. No, he's just rotating in there. Maybe he was the wrong one. Let's call him out somewhere. This must be the wrong one. Let's try with this guy. Hoping he's the right one. Or is it that that hole is just a little too big? Because every screw seems to be just eternally loosening in that. I don't know what's going on, guys. That's really not the way this is planned to be. Okay, let's try the screw in that hole once. It looks like every screw is really losing that hole. Maybe we shouldn't be using that. what we can do is we can just use two screws. I'd have hated to do something like this, any sort of a repair where I just put two screws and leave it the way it is. But I think now we are left with no option but to do that. I've got two of these nuts with the Loctite on it. Got that guy out. Let's try and fix this in this. If this guy sits, see, it's really tight, snug, and perfectly the way it should. And this sits in perfectly well too. One last try. Let's put in another screw. Not anything that I have here, but doesn't look like any of these are from that particular thread. None of these actually. There are just two of these now, and those I think should go somewhere else. And it's just the way it is. Should I leave it there? I'm not too sure. I don't think that would be a good idea to leave it in there. There going out. But like I said, magnetic legs here. I don't know how many other screws are last in this space where we have these magnetic legs. All are magnets. I thought I'm going to stop. Okay, I think Ameya Archule is asking us where can I get any sort of basics for camera repair. So you can get it on eBay in the US or India on Amazon. Get them online. So let me go ahead and stop this video because did you also take part the focusing doing no? So let's go ahead and close this. I'll show you a video once it's